In today's video, we are going to study Nimzo-Indian Defence Saemisch variation. And the best example for this opening is the game between Anand and Magnus Carlsen. So we start with your game d4, knight f6, c4, e6. It is the start of the Nimzo-Indian territory. Now knight c3, bishop b4, and f3. From here, it is first said that it is a Moch variation, but it is basically it turns out to be a Saemisch variation. And d5 immediately controlling the center. At this point, most common choices for white are whether a3 or e3. And it is e3 which has generated plus score for white. So a3, if instead e3 immediately, then castle. Still a3 continues, bishop into c3 check, b into c3, now c5. Hitting the center immediately. Now bishop d3 developing the bishop, queen c7 developing the queen and eyeing this c5 square and eyeing this diagonal. So c2 creating a battery of bishop and queen. Now d into c4, bishop into c4, rook d8 first, centralizing the rook first. Now knight e2 developing the knight. Knight c6 is the main move. I'm going to show you that how black develops. The black develops by moving the knight over here on a5. Then he plays the move b6. He may take on the pawn over here. Then he is going to develop his bishop, and this bishop will be eyeing this diagonal. This is the black actually, how black is going to develop. And how white is going to get rid of his problem, this white square bishop, is that he's going to play the move e4. And then he can develop his bishop anywhere on this diagonal. But first castle, then h6, now rook b1, controlling this half open file, and now knight a5 threatening the bishop, bishop a2. As bishop on over here on d3 would be doing nothing, but here it is eyeing this e6 pawn and f7 pawn and this diagonal. C d4, now e into d4. See, white's bishop has been opened. It can move over here, protecting whether this pawn, and he can come back over here and like this. This is one of the ways. And now b6, and here black is going to able to develop his bishop. So we come back to our game where a3 was played by Anand. This was the world championship match in 2013. Here Anand made a little mistake in calculations and lost the game, and it came in the end actually. Now bishop into c3 check, b into c3. This is the standard move. Now c5 immediately. In Nimzo-Indian defense, this type of structures, black immediately counters the center. C into d5, e into d5. Instead, if it is knight into d5, then c into d5, d into c5. Now black would try to black will try to hit this pawn over here, whereas white would develop like this and queen over here, and black would develop queen over here like this and castles, and black is going to take back this pawn over here. I'm going to show you some queen a5 like e4 hitting the knight f6, going back, bishop e3, now castle, queen b3 and knight bd7 hitting this pawn over here. So we come to our game where e into d5. Magnus took the pawn with the d pawn, e pawn with the e pawn actually, and e3 was played. Here the drawback here is the blockade of the dark square bishop between his pawns, but it is also the actually the computer's first choice. Computer likes to develop this pawn like this, threatening on the king side, developing on king side. The king will be might be in center, remain in the center, or it may castle and go over here. Then he may develop this bishop like this, hitting this pawn over here on d5. This is the way computers think. In the game, actually they were highly prepared, both of the players. So Magnus played the move, Vishy Anand played the move e3. He has prepared it. Now the c4. Now this bishop is a problem, but now Anand is going to play this move and going to develop this bishop like this, in this way, and going to attack on the king side. Whereas now black is going to attack on the queen side. Knight e2 by Anand and knight c6, developing the knight g4, going for the plan, castle, bishop g2. Knight a5, going to bring the knight over here and going to capture this bishop, as this bishop is very important because it is the only piece which is going to attack on the king side. So instead of the black's knight here, white's bishop is better. Still, although it is on its immediate square. Castle, knight b3, rook a2. Rook b2 b1 could also be played, but after that a5 and now e4. The point is of e4 is that now I'm going to develop my bishop. D into e4, f into e4, and knight into c1. As I told you that this bishop is very important attacker for white, because it can pin the knight over here. The knight may develop like this, pinning this knight once more, and it will be a problem. So black took it out. Queen c1, knight into g4. White has given up the pawn, but a lot of mobility for his pieces. White has a great compensation for his pawn over here. So this may be the case if rook b1 was played, but in the game rook a2 was played. And now the move is b5, going to go for the queen side attack. The point is that going to go for the queen side attack. Knight g3 and a5. It is a double purpose move that whenever if this side of king side is threatened, then black can uplift his rook over here and then bring his rook to the king side for the safety. There is another move over here, and that is rook b8 in the theory. And after that e4, d into e4, bishop g5 immediately. Now e3, knight h5, rook b6. See, from rook is developed from over here and protecting this knight. And rook e2. This may be the sequence of the moves if instead of a5, rook b8 is being played. Instead of a5, rook b8 is being played. So we continue with our game where a5 was played, and now d5, going for the attack on the king side. Knight e8, the standard reply. E4, opening the diagonal for this bishop. So black took it out. Queen into c1, rook a6. Sorry, see, the rook lift is going to protect this king side. Instead of here, the second move was bishop e6. After that, queen e3, rook b8, and rook b1. And still it is a double-edged position, but an equal one, but needs accurate play. So after rook a6, now e5 by white, knight c7 and f4. Anand is immediately going to attack on this side completely. He's saying that I am going to be fast enough to attack, whereas Magnus Carlsen is going to play on this side of the board. And he did like b4, into b4, into b4, rook into a6, knight into a6, and now f5. Instead of here, the second choice was h4, but the problem is that after g6, white can hold these squares. This is controlled by bishop and this is controlled by pawn. So c into b4 if played, knight into pawn, and here black had this passed pawn. And I think Anand did not like this thing that black has a passed pawn because this is now a draw. Black has to white has to continuously look for this passed pawn on c4. So that's why Anand went for f5 immediately. Now d3 was played and queen f4 was played. The reason behind queen f4 was that he is going to white Anand is going to play the move pawn. And here there are only two defenders. It is the correct time to bring next another defender to this black king side. How can we do it? We are going to bring our knight over here. So knight c7, now f6, and g6 first. Instead of here, still now h4 is completely playable because after knight e8, now h5 and queen a5. Black is going to attack this side, but now g6 could be played. And on the board, this position is very, very overwhelming for white, and both of black side and white side will be on their tools to defend or attack this position. So f6, e6 was played, queen h4, and this was a very great idea by Anand that he's going to play the move queen h6 and now going to bring his rook over here to attack the black king side. Knight e8 was played, and now queen h6, going for the same idea like this. B was played by black, but rook f4 still. White is going for it, and it is a very complicated position. But Anand found the exact and correct defenses, and that is b1 queen check. And here, actually, Anand made a mistake, and Magnus Carlsen was who found the exact defenses over here. And Anand played the move knight f1, and that was knight f1. That was a blunder because of the move queen e1, and Anand resigned because if white plays the move rook h4 over here, now queen is going to sacrifice the second queen black, and here black is one piece up and white has just three pieces, and there is no way that white can win this position. So if instead of, for example, knight f1, what happens if bishop f1? And now white can go for draw. And even black can go for draw. And it is very difficult continuation, and it is not an easy continuation to find on the board, and that is queen d1. The point is that now queen h4, and you are going to put your queen over here. After knight into h5, g into h5, rook into h5, and now bishop f5 protects everything on the king side, and it would be a draw. So I hope you have understood the concept behind Nimzo-Indian Defence Saemisch variation, that how it is being played and what is the concept in it. I have not gone in very depth. I've just keep it just simple. And you have enjoyed the obviously the World Championship game also. So if you liked my video, kindly hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon button, and also like it. Thank you very much.